Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। A reading from Srimad Bhagvatam, 10th canto, chapter 65, text 18. Purnachandra kalam vriste kaumudi gandhavayuna yamunopavane remi sevite stri ganairvrita. Purnachandra kalam vriste kaumudi gandhavayuna yamunopavane remi sevite stri ganairvrita. Purnachandra kalam vriste kaumudi gandhavayuna yamunopavane remi sevite stri ganairvrita. Someone else? Purna, full Chandra of the moon. Kala, by the rays. Mriste, bathed. Kaumudi, of lotus flowers that open in the moonlight. Gandha, bearing the fragrance. Vayuna, by the wind. Yamuna, of the Yamuna river. Upavani, in a garden. Reme, he enjoyed. Sebite, served. Stri, women. Ganai, by many. Vritaha, accompanied. Translation and purport by disciples of His Divine Grace C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: in the company of numerous women, Lord Balaram enjoyed in a garden by the Yamuna river. This garden was bathed in the rays of the full moon and caressed by breezes bearing the fragrance of night-blooming lotuses. Purport: Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains that Lord Balram's conjugal pastime took place in a small forest alongside the Yamuna, a place known as Sri Rama Ghata, which is far from the site of Sri Krishna's Rasa dance. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadameham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunadanvitam Tvam Sajivam Saudvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Danitan Sri Vishakan Vitamsya Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravari Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvise Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaudodaye Pushpavanto Chitra Sandau Tamonudo. Hare Krishna. So, in this chapter, this pastime of how Balramji is visiting Vrindavan and he is doing Ras Leela with all the gopis, the Balram set of gopis who are different from Krishna's set of gopis. This pastime is explained. So in the past, our devotees have been describing how that when we discuss the pastimes of Ras Leela and all that, we have to be careful, and it has to be approached in a mood of worship and not in a mood of enjoyment. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati tells a story. He says that hearing Ras Leela is like switching on music in a graveyard. When you switch on music in a graveyard, what is going to happen? Then all the ghosts will start dancing, because there are no people there. You know, so he says that that all the ghosts they come, their emotions become, they will become very excited and start dancing. So he says that if you speak Raslila, then the ghosts which are there in the heart, the anarthas, different shortcomings which are there in the heart, speak Raslila and hear Raslila without qualification. Yeah, without qualification. Then the anarthas and the shortcomings which are there in the heart, they start dancing and relishing, and and in this way it becomes offensive. So therefore it has to be approached with care and under guidance, and it has to be worshipped, and yeah, it has to be worshipped. But however, the principle of emotions is very noteworthy. That how in the Bhagavatam it is explained, these pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained how the gopis are offering their emotions to Krishna, gopis are offering their emotions to Balaram. It is noteworthy that that spiritual life is not devoid of emotions. Recently I was reading a book by Devamrita Maharaj. The name of that book is Bhakti Bhava. It's not Bhava Bhakti, it's Bhakti Bhava. So there is a difference between Bhava Bhakti and Bhakti Bhava. Bhava Bhakti is, it comes after Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, and then Bhava comes. Bhakti Bhava is something which is relatable for us. And so Maharaj, he explains that that there are different pastimes in Bhagavatam, including pastimes of Krishna and all that. So when we read these pastimes, so how do we live those pastimes, or how do we relish those pastimes? Generally it becomes very, sometimes, because we hear them repetitively, we tend to become disinterested. They become hackneyed. So that is the tendency generally. So so in this book, however, Maharaj explains that how do we offer those emotions to Krishna? The principle is simple. Prabhupada gives this principle, that gives this example, that just like if you offer, if you keep the iron rod in water, cool water, then it becomes cold. Or the iron rod in general, it is, it's iron rod. But when you keep it in hot fire, then it becomes red and it becomes almost like fire only. So Prabhupada gives this example, saying that similarly, all matter can be spiritualized. Similarly, all matter can be spiritualized. So yeah, so therefore, there is a process as to how one can offer one's emotions to Krishna. Just like we can offer one's own, we offer bhoga to Krishna. We offer whatever cook, we offer our bhoga to Krishna. Then it becomes prasad. And whatever we cook, then it becomes, when we offer, then it becomes Krishna's mercy. Similarly, we may offer, let us say, if we have our clothes, if we purchase new clothes and we offer it to Krishna, then it becomes Krishna's mercy. Similarly, this it is made of some metal. If we use it for a disco dance, of course they don't use kartal probably, but anyway, if it is used in some mundane music, for some mundane, it becomes mundane. But if we use it for playing kirtans, then it becomes transcendental, spiritual. So similarly, the emotions which we have in our heart, so they can also be spiritualized, because they are also matter, which we cannot see, but which we can perceive. And they can also be spiritualized. Now, what are those emotions? The emotions which we have in our heart are nothing but the six anarthas: lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, pride. These are the emotions which we have in our heart. in general. These are the material emotions. If you have spiritual emotions, then then they are spiritual. So, so they can be spiritualized. They can be spiritualized, and that is how we progress in devotional service. That is how we could come from the stage of lower stages to higher stages, like that. So, yeah. So he gives an example, vivid example. He says, Maharaj describes an example. He says that one time one devotee approached Sachinandan Maharaj, and then he says that Maharaj, he's a leader, so happens to be a devotee leader in one of the communities, and he says that there is some problem, and so many devotees are criticizing me and all that, and I'm very frustrated, and I'm very anxiety ridden, and I feel revengeful and hateful and all that. So then Sachinandan Maharaj was, talking to him, and he was explaining the philosophy that how, so there could be some differences or whatever, but however we have to see, we have to see how to act in a way that is pleasing to Krishna, and we should not be hateful or revengeful. And in case some problems are there, if someone has done some, uh, we are victim of someone's excesses or something like that, then it has to be addressed appropriately, like that Maharaj was saying, without revengeful mentality, like that hateful mentality, like that Maharaj was explaining him, trying to preach to him. And then this Prabhu was saying, answered back, Maharaj, what you are saying I know, and I have been preaching this for many years, but I can't practice it right now, because it is so difficult for me. I am going through this situation where I know what you are saying, and I have been preaching this for many years. I have spoken in innumerable hundreds of classes, but it's very difficult for me to practice. So then Maharaj goes on to say, Javamrit Maharaj goes on to say, so in this way the emotions are, so that's how the emotions are. He goes on to say, so do we wait for devotional service to descend upon us and purify our emotions? Or do we have a way to train our emotions? Just like if you want to learn singing, chanting Hare Krishna, singing, I meant to say, yeah, kirtan. So we catch a harmonium, we say, raga, sari, kama, whatever. We start, try. There is some training procedure, right? Similarly, if you want to learn, say cooking, there is some training procedure. We learn how a choke is done, or what is the characteristics of flame, and what are the characteristics of different cooking ingredients. There's a way of training. So, is there a way to train our emotions also? So that is the question. Or do we have to wait for the devotional service to descend upon us? The mercy to descend upon us. So this book, it explains vividly that how that there is a way to train our emotions. We can train our emotions to in a way that they can be spiritualized, and Krishna's mercy can be experienced. Yeah. So therefore, this book is named as Bhakti Bhava, emotional dynamics of a devotee. Emotional dynamics of a devotee. So the essence is simple. The essence is to say no to Maya and to say yes to Krishna. That is the essence. That is the principle. That is the principle on which the whole book is based upon. To say no to Maya and to say yes to Krishna. And of course, Maharaj also describes different pastimes here and there as to how devotees feel. The co-person. Jai Shri Srintai Gauranga ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. So it also explains different pastimes, and how the cohort boys and they all feel during the Krishna's pastimes and Vrindavan, like that. It also explains. So yeah. So there's a Yeah, so there is a way to train our emotions. So, Burijan Prabhu writes, how do we, yeah, how do we train our emotions? He says that, you know, he explains that, just like when we are, if a room is dark, when we enter a room, we have been doing some work in a room, and if when we are doing some work in a room, we feel that everything is nice. Sometimes in dark room, let us say we are sleeping or something like that, or doing some work in a dark room, we don't see anything anyway. So we feel everything is nice. But once the light is switched on, we see that there is so much dirt within the room. So when we see so much dirt within the room, then we become alarmed. So he says that, and that is when that is the time when we become prayerful. So he says he writes a famous statement. He writes, before humility comes humiliation. So we are humiliated to see our own shortcomings, and then when we are humiliated, then it turns into humility, transforms into humility, like that. Like that he says. So, so he offers a simple solution to come from anartha nivritti to nishta. He says that, so anartha nivritti is the process of identifying the anarthas to become aware of the anarthas. He offers a triple A formula, you know, triple A: awareness, acceptance, aspiration. So first step is awareness, awareness of our shortcomings. So when we practice Krishna consciousness, awareness also does not come unless and until we are attentive in our devotional service. The tendency is to be inattentive. And when we are inattentive, then Maya takes us on a ride. We don't even come to know of our shortcomings. We think we are better off. We think we are better off. Everything is wonderful within our spiritual life. Our spiritual life is going on very nicely. And if there is some problem, that is someone else's mistake. Uh, and uh, and if we do some mistake, anyway, it's natural. We are humans ultimately. But otherwise, it's a human mistake, human error. But otherwise, we are very good devotees. So this is, this permeates our consciousness if we are inattentive. When we are inattentive, we generally don't even are not even aware of our shortcomings. So when we are aware of our shortcomings, so the first step is to become aware. Therefore, Burijan Prabhu gives the example of switching on the light. Till the time light is not switched on, everything is dark. The first step is to be aware. Then to accept. Okay, so acceptance means, okay, so I have these shortcomings and we experience those shortcomings. We are not just aware, we experience those shortcomings. And the shortcomings sometimes they tend to overwhelm us, then we experience the pain of saying no to the shortcomings. So now there's a difference between uh, there's a difference between accepting our shortcomings and being shameful of our shortcomings. Being shameful of our shortcomings stems out of inferiority complex. When one is excessively guilty, then then one becomes shameful of one's shortcomings. So we may pray to Krishna, or we may be we may sometimes pray to Krishna, but the overwhelming thought is that I am not fit for devotional service, which is very dangerous. It's not recommended, because no one is fit for devotional service. Personally, we may not be fit, but Krishna's mercy is very powerful. So when we accept our shortcomings, then there is an inherent understanding that, okay, I have this XYZ shortcomings, but Krishna's mercy is more powerful. And Krishna is very affectionate upon us. And the symptom of acceptance is we are ready for transformation. We know a path for transformation. We are not just ready, but we also have an idea of the path for transformation. So there is a clarity, there is a vision basically. So, yeah, so therefore, acceptance is quite different from acceptance of one's own shortcomings is quite different from guilt or shame. Acceptance is on a positive side. Guilt or shame is on a negative side. And by guilt, or sometimes it's healthy guilt, then that comes to that we can call it as acceptance. But unhealthy guilt, unhealthy guilt or shame is that will pull us down. So we know our shortcomings, and we have some desire to overcome them, but we keep going down and down. Because we feel that we are not fit for Krishna or something like that. Yeah, it basically stems out from inferiority complex. But acceptance is a positive word. So acceptance, yeah. So this is the so acceptance is the second stage. When we are aware of our anadas, then we accept it. And yeah, acceptance also involves taking out our emotions from material objects and offer, and the process of beginning to take out our emotions from material objects and start offering it to Krishna. So that leads us to the third step, which is aspiration. Awareness, acceptance, and aspiration. Aspiration has two symptoms. One is a prayerful heart, and another is taking shelter of devotees. So because we are conscious of our shortcomings, Prabhupada says, before becoming Krishna conscious, we should be conscious. So because we are conscious of our shortcomings, so therefore there is a inherent, therefore there is an endeavor. There is an endeavor to overcome the shortcomings. There is an endeavor to we were speaking about emotions, right? So there is an endeavor, the emotions which are filled with lust, anger, greed. There is an endeavor to free it from lust, anger, greed, and and to spiritualize it. So now, so that endeavor involves taking shelter of devotees, taking shelter of Vaishnava's guidance. How do we move ahead? That endeavor involves prayer. So therefore, we were discussing there is a vision, there is a clarity. When one is on the platform of acceptance, there is a clarity as to what are the steps I can go ahead, and there is a confidence in that clarity. There is a confidence in that vision. There is a confidence in the guidance. What are the steps to be taken to be able to navigate through our shortcomings and come out of the shortcomings? So generally the tendency, or generally if we are overwhelmed by shortcomings, there is no such vision, there is no such understanding. How do we overcome it? How do we navigate through them? Because we have to live with them for quite some time. So how do we live with them for quite some time, and how do we navigate them? Such understanding is needed. So that is called a vision of vision for our life. We have vision for project, we have vision for community of devotees. We also need a vision for our own life. So, yeah. So basically, the path from acceptance to aspiration is what we are discussing. Is what is the subject matter of our discussion today. Because when we are aware of our shortcomings, then we know that the shortcomings which we have, the emotions are involved in it. Lust, anger, greed, which we have within our heart, and we are not, the emotions are involved in it. Whenever we think of, whenever we are envious, or whenever we are lusty, or whenever we are greedy, or whenever we are proud, it's not that we are an observer. The emotions are involved in it. So the pathway is to divest our emotions. We have to bring out those emotions. We have to bring out those emotions and offer them to Krishna. So that happens through prayer and shelter. And prayer and shelter cannot happen unless and until the first two steps are there: awareness and acceptance. And today is also Srivas Pandit's appearance day. So Srivas Pandit, it's an interesting pastime how Srivas Pandit Narad Muni had become Srivas Pandit. So Narada Muni was he was wanting to enter Raslila. He was moving around, how to enter Raslila, how to enter Raslila, how to enter Raslila. He goes to Kusum Sarovar. The Kusum Sarovar, Narada Muni is a brahmachari, staunch brahmachari. So he was going around Kusum Sarovar, and so then Yogamaya appears there, as far as I remember. She tells, my dear Narada Muni, so you want to enter Raslila, but you're a brahmachari. How can a brahmachari enter Raslila? Raslila, only gopis are there. Brahmacharis can't enter Raslila. Krishna is the only brahmachari in Raslila. So, yeah. So you can't enter Raslila. She said, yeah, and as a brahmachari you can't enter Raslila. That's what she said. So then he started pleading, and he said, no, I what to do. I have to do something. Please do something, please. She said, okay. So on the banks of Kusum Sarovar, there is one beautiful lady sitting there. You go and sit beside her. And Narad Muni said, Arey, what are you saying? I am a brahmachari. How can I go and sit beside a beautiful lady? It's not possible. No, you have to do that. Then only, there's a way. So then finally Narad Muni goes, and because what can be done? There is no other way out. He goes and sits beside that beautiful lady. And as and when he sits on the banks of Kusum Sarovar beside this beautiful lady immediately she pushes him into the lake. Like धक्का मार के उसका अंदर गिरा दिया. So when Narada Muni comes out, he becomes Naradi Gopi. So this lady was Vrinda Devi. So Srivas Thakur is in that mood of Naradi Gopi. So we were hearing from Bhakti Brihad Bhagavad Swami long time back. So he relates this, tells us this pastime, and Srivas Thakur is in that mood of Narada Muni sacrificing his designation to become Naradi Gopi. And Srivas Thakur similarly, he's in that mood of Rasalila, wanting to enter Rasalila, wanting to enter Sri Vrindavan Dham by sacrificing his material designations. So in this way Srivas Thakur enters during Radha Yatra. there's a pastime of how Swarup Damodar and Srivas Pandit, they discuss about the glories of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So Narada Muni, Srivas Thakur being Narada Muni, he's playing the role of being attached to opulence of Vaikunta or Dwaraka. So he is glorifying Dwaraka. So Swarup Damodar being a Brajavasi, he is attached to the simplicity of Sri Vrindavan. Of course, Vrindavan is certainly simple, but it's also very opulent. But the simplicity and the madhurya, the sweetness is overwhelming the opulence. So Narada Muni has a particular, Narada Muni, or for that matter, any of the characters in Chaitanya Leela, all the characters in Chaitanya Leela who have come from different incarnations, including Murari Gupta or Prahlad, all these different characters. So Lord Chaitanya had a unique character, had a unique way of bringing all these characters in Chaitanya Leela, Narada Muni, Murari Gupta, and all these characters in Chaitanya Leela. And from different incarnations, Murari Gupta has an inclination, has a strong inclination to be attached to Lord Ramachandra. Natural strong inclination to be attached to Lord Ramachandra. So Lord Chaitanya had brought all of these different devotees from different incarnations. He invited them, and they became a part of Chaitanya Leela. So they, some of them, they maintained their inclinations towards their own Ishtadev. At the same time, they also appreciated the uniqueness of Lord Krishna's sweetness. So Lord Chaitanya had offered these opportunities to all. Radhanand was saying in one of the Kartik Yatras few years back. This particular Kartik Yatra, he was discussing different pastimes of Krishna and different pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and how they are similar. So he was discussing on this. I believe it was in, not able to recollect. It should be in 2016 or something like that. It is 500th appearance of 500th anniversary of Lord Chaitanya visiting Sri Vrindavan Dham. So in that yatra. So so it was being explained that how Lord Chaitanya has invited different incarnations from different devotees from different incarnations. And at the same time, naturally they had their inclination towards their Ishtadeva. At the same time, he offered them an opportunity to taste the sweetness of to taste Lord Krishna's sweetness. So Srivas Thakur, he was glorifying Vaikunta, glorifying Dwaraka, but at the same time, he was also wanting to taste the sweetness of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So that festival we are going to celebrate very soon. It happens during Rath Yatra only. Probably on the day of Hera Panchami. Not sure. Don't remember. So in this way, so Srivas, so today is Srivas Thakur's disappearance day. Today is Srivas Thakur's disappearance day. So Srivas Thakur, we were discussing about how one gives up one's material designations to accept a spiritual emotion. So Srivas Thakur is a good example here in this particular discussion. So that how he gave up his material designation to accept a spiritual emotion. Like that. So it's our prayer and it's our endeavor. It may take time. It is, devotionals. Prabhupada writes in one purport in Bhagavad Gita. This devotional service is a very slow process. Like that Prabhupada writes. To that effect. Not exactly this line. to that effect. I have that. If someone wants, I can show it. So, it's a slow process. See, it may take time, it may take endeavor, or it may take, uh, we may have to put that patience. We have to put that patience and endeavor and time to be able to accept our shortcomings and divest our emotions from those shortcomings and offer those emotions to Krishna through prayer and shelter. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, one, two.
Hare Krishna. So one way of taking shelter of devotees is to Goyam Akhyati Prichati, like we reveal our mind in confidence, and but that we cannot do with everyone. So what are the other ways in which we can take shelter of devotees?
One way is to, as you rightly said, Kukyamakyati Prachati. And another way is to take inspiration. When we discuss confidentially, then we know, or then there's a discussion as to what are our good qualities, what are our bad qualities, and all that. But sometimes when we go in association of devotees, there is an overwhelming mercy upon us. And there may not be a discussion as to what is what we are up to, what we want to do, what we don't want to do, and all that. But there's such an overwhelming mercy upon us. If we just try to catch some things, all our shortcomings will go far away. Like now Rath Yatra is coming up, so much mercy is descending, kind of. Say we go for Kartik Yatra, so much, so many devotees put so much energy into it. Naturally, mercy will descend, and so much prayer is involved in it. Naturally, mercy will descend. So then we throw away our designation. We try to throw away our designations and give our full energy into, instead of thinking about what my shortcoming is, what, if you are convinced about it, basically that, there is a lot of mercy which is involved here, then let us, for few days, put aside our thoughts about, what is right, what is wrong, and all that, and just try to plunge into the mercy. So that way, that gives us an opportunity to make a rapid advancement in a very short time. The endeavor which we put slowly and slowly for years and months and years together, and try to change it and try to transform ourselves, some superior mercy is involved. It can happen in a few seconds, provided we offer ourselves. Yeah. So sometimes senior devotees come. Senior devotees offer that opportunity. Yatras are there, so we have that opportunity to plunge ourselves into that mercy. So that is one thing. Another thing is also another thing also is that when we help other devotees who may be, let us say, may not be devotionally more advanced than us, when we help them, your juniors basically, I mean to say, when we help them, so by giving we receive. So that's a way by which we can attract Krishna's grace. So that's also association, because by giving we receive. So Krishna, one of the Krishna's mission, the most important mission for Lord Chaitanya is to offer devotional service to everyone. He comes, he says, no, I am wanting to distribute these mangoes, but I have only two hands. So somebody comes and extends his hands to distribute those mangoes, then Lord Chaitanya becomes happy, Then whether we know it or not, we naturally become advanced. So that's also a way of associating with devotees. So Narad Muni tells Dhruva Maharaj, there are three kinds of devotees whom we associate with. How do we associate with seniors? By uh, by offering respects to them. How do we associate with equals? By making friendship with them. How do we associate with juniors? By being compassionate upon them. So all kinds of association are needed. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu had said that this statement, Bhajan Prabhu says, humiliation comes before humility. So, what you have told from today's class that humiliation means we turn on the light in our heart and we become aware of our shortcomings, and that leads to humility. But I want to ask, does it also mean that when we serve in association of devotees, then our false ego is purified and we are also sometimes insulted, dishonored. So that forces us to become humble, although we have a false understanding of our material designations. So does this humiliation refer to that kind of humiliation also?
That could be, but when Gurujan Prabhu is writing here, he is specifically referring to this. The context is this, that we are aware of our shortcomings, and yeah, and that awareness leads to a humility like that. So he's referring to this. Of course, what you're speaking of, it is, yeah, Kaliya, just like Kaliya, when his false ego has been purified, he became, when Krishna was dancing on his, you know, on his hoods, then he became purified of his false ego, and that's so, and because Nagapatnis were also offering prayers, and so he also started offering prayers. So that, I'm not denying on that. That is there. Tatte kampansa samikshamano punjani vatmakritam vipaka. So when we, so that process is where Kunti Maharaj says, let Vipadasyantu, let the calamities come again. So that is there. I'm not denying on that. But the point which I'm referring to is this: is humiliation comes when Gurujan Prabhu is saying, the context is this, that we become aware of our shortcomings, and that leads to, yeah, Krishna consciousness. That leads to humility. Yeah. And then through humility, further stages of Krishna consciousness. Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.